All right, welcome back to another weekly edition of Pep Talk. This week, my special guest is Andrew Holtan. How are we doing today?
Pretty good. It's Valentine's Day. You and I were just talking about that. How not the best holiday of the year, but guess we'll just fight through it.
Yeah, I think if you're not in a relationship, it's the most depressing day of the year. But we got
Just
we're o-
stay off social media then.
that's been my plan. And it has been working out too well, but we'll have to push through it. There's only a few hours left, so we'll get through it. All right, so we'll get right into the NFL talk. This happened, I believe, last Thursday. Big news coming out of San Francisco. Jimmy G gets a 5-year contract, 90. I believe it was 90 million guaranteed. I believe it's 137 million, or
Somewhere around. I mean, it's a lot of money.
it's a
It's
lot
the
of money.
most money ever in the NFL.
Yeah,
So
it's the most money in the
is it the
NFL.
most guaranteed or just the most overall?
I think it's the most overall
All
because
right.
I think Matthew Stafford was the most highest paid per year last year, or it was the highest contract. Now it's obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, but he won the 49ers games last year. I believe that he was undefeated when he started.
Yeah, I think he was either undefeated or he only lost one game. I don't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, but overall, what do you think? I mean, this guy, people think he's still not proven. People think it's a little too early to give him a contract, but San Francisco basically sealed their future with giving him that big of contract.
Well, I look at it this way. Like, you look at what the Redskins just did with Alex Smith. It takes forever to actually find a quarterback. So if you got a guy who is at least shown that he can win games, you might as well pay him. I mean, this happens every single year, it seems like, where there's a new high. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is about to get a contract, and he'll probably uh, get more than Jimmy Garoppolo just got. So I think it's worth it. I mean, the 49ers have been looking for a quarterback for a couple of years now. They traded for him. If you're going to trade for him, you might as well sign him. Uh, and I think he is going to be good. I mean, he's proven that he has the skills, and everybody in New England was talking about how he's going to be the next guy. And they weren't expecting Brady to last this long, and that's why they had to end up trading him so they could get something out of him. Otherwise, he would have became a free agent this year and would have signed probably to San Francisco or someone else. So I think if you're the 49ers, you have to do it, especially it's not like they have a lot of people that they need to pay right now because they've got a bunch of young guys who aren't very good. So you might as well go out and get your quarterback.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I just double checked. It was 137 and a half, so we were basically spot on. Yeah, I mean, like Jimmy Garoppolo is a young quarterback. He's been unproven, but like he did, I guess, show his talents when he did play with those 6 games with San Francisco. They, I think they won that trade overall.
Oh, easily. I
He's
mean, they only gave up
a
a
second
second
round.
round pick,
Yeah,
didn't
and that
they?
second round pick is probably not going to be much, especially because New England did go far in the playoffs, and it's not worthless, but I don't think it's going to live up to Jimmy Garoppolo's kind of talent.
Well, no, not at all. And a lot of Patriots fans are kind of pissed at Belichick and management that they gave up Jimmy Garoppolo for that amount, especially the way. And it seems like they kind of do that with a lot of players. You got Garoppolo, you got Chandler Jones, you've got who else? Jamie Collins. Just a lot of guys that they just kind of ship off because they don't either have room for them on their roster or they just don't really want to pay them or they just can't. So I don't know. I think, yeah, the 49ers definitely won that trade. Now the thing is do they have the right management to draft around Jimmy Garoppolo and make sure that they can get talent around him because he won games with not a whole lot of talent. Now they didn't really play anyone good. They kind of beat a bunch of. They did beat Jacksonville and they beat Tennessee,
Yep.
but other than that, I think it was a bunch of under 500 teams. But now, like I said, their defense I think is all right. They just kind of need to get some more offense, and I think Jimmy G, the future, he's looking like he's going to be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think also I think they're gonna end up signing Carlos Hyde again. He's a free agent too, so I mean he's a good back that can take the pressure off of Jimmy Garoppolo when needed. He's I think he's a pretty good running back. I think he's overlooked just on where he plays. He's gonna get a hefty contract for making less than $1 million a year last year. They beat the Rams last year at the end of the season. It was the last game, so I don't know if the Rams are really trying a whole lot. Um, I think if we move on to our next topic, we'll stay in the free agents list. We got big names like Kirk Cousins and Le'Veon Bell. I think if we look at first Kirk Cousins, I think the destination is basically in Denver at this point. I think the Vikings have been kind of off the radar the last week or so. It sounds like a lot from what I've been hearing. Case Keenum's going to be the guy they end up probably signing or probably franchise taking him to.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention the last week or so, but I did see that the Redskins were even thinking about just franchise tagging Kirk Cousins once again, and then um, then forcing teams to trade for him, which doesn't make much sense because then you're just wasting a bunch of money.
I don't really get that though. Why would you get Alex Smith, who's a top 15
Well, I think
quarterback?
they want to get something for. I mean, they gave up a decent amount for Alex Smith.
Well,
I
as a
think
third round pick.
third round and Kendall Fuller, and he's a pretty decent corner. But I don't know. I guess. But the thing is, then you're just kind of wasting money as well because you would still have to pay him, I believe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. But also, and everything the Redskins do doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it sounds like he's gonna go to Denver. I mean, Denver or Minnesota. It's kind of you never know with these things. It seems like people kind of know. They lean towards it, but I don't think anyone actually knows. And we still have 2 or 3 weeks left until free agency begins. So a lot of things can change between now and then.
Yeah, I think I mean as a Vikings fan, I think it'd be awesome for him to be there, but I just don't know if the Vikings are going to lean that direction. Um, I think I think personally he's going to go to Denver. I think they've got more set. I don't know. Do you think the Denver Broncos have the more set up offense than the Vikings for Cousins? Because they're kind of almost like 50-50 to me.
Yeah, I think they're almost kind of the same sort of offense. I will say the Vikings have a better running game to kind of if he wouldn't have to throw the ball. I don't think as much in the Viking. Now I don't really know what Filippo or whatever his name is, the new offense coordinator for the Vikings, what his offense is exactly like, but I don't know. I think he's a fit with both teams. He's a guy who, yeah, he does kind of like to sling it around, but he also can, manage the game, and both teams have pretty good defenses. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, for sure. And then if we move on to our next free agent, we have Le'Veon Bell. He's been franchise tag. I think he was it last year. I don't know if it
Hmm.
was the year before or after that, but he is on the free agent list again. He has rumored and said if I get franchise tag again, I'm not gonna play, which I think is a little ridiculous, but
I think it makes sense
it does. I
because
think
you can't choose your salary. You can't negotiate at all. They're basically giving you a set salary, and although I mean, with the Kirk Cousins situation, the Redskins paid Kirk Cousins more money in the past 2 years than they would have if they just signed a new deal with him 2 years ago. So that didn't make any sense. It's just, like I said, the Redskins being dumb. And it sounds like the Steelers are trying to do the same thing. You might as well just ink up a new deal with him, and that way you have him. And also, what's franchise tagging going to do for him other than you keep him for one more year, and then like you said, he's not going to be happy, and he'll definitely leave next year. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense to me if you're the Steelers why you wouldn't just negotiate a contract with him.
yeah. I mean, it's like putting a band-aid on a wound. It's not
Hmm.
gonna like do anything. You need to I guess, make efforts to make the wound go away.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there's been offers. I guess there was I read something. I believe it was sports culture, sports clutch, one of the two on Twitter, and it said like the Jets. He said he'd be interested in going to the Jets if they offered him $100 million contract. I mean, That's ridiculous,
It's
but
a lot for a running back. That's like unheard of. I don't think that's gonna happen. He also kind of hinted at the Giants in Odell Beckham's Instagram
yep, I
post,
saw that.
but I don't know. I think he ends up with the Steelers. It just seems if you're this, it's such a you can't pass up on Le'Veon Bell. I mean, he is a little injury prone. I get that, but he's a
Uh,
top 5 running back, and he's probably gonna go down as one of maybe like a top 30 running back in history. So I think you have to just get over your stuff and negotiate a contract
Do
with
you
him.
think he's the best running back in the league?
No, Todd Gurley is.
Okay, I can agree with that. So, I
I
did.
think. I mean, I think he
He's the best
he
catching
doesn't
back out of the
play
league.
enough to like really put him up there. I think that's his issue. When he's on the field, yeah, he's probably top 3 running back, but he plays like 12 games a year, whether it's suspensions or injuries. And if we could get 3 straight full years from him, I think he could be tied with Todd Gurley, and it'd be both. They're both, but like you said, yeah. I mean, they both kind of have different skill sets. Where Le'Veon Bell is kind of a shifty runner, Todd Gurley's kind of a more run you over and all that. But yeah, I think he's definitely up there.
I think he's the most patient running back in the
Yeah,
league. Is the
for
best way
sure.
of putting it. I did see something on Colin Coward. I want to get your take on this. He had he had mentioned like the most valued quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I want to see what your top 5 is. I believe his top 5. I don't remember the exact order of them, but it went Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe he was either third or fourth. Carson Wentz was fifth. I remember that. And then I think I'm trying to think of all the quarterbacks they listed. I know Tom Brady wasn't in there. But yeah.
So this is like value as in years to come. Like how much can you get out of this person?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers. I've always thought Aaron Rodgers is the best overall quarterback just because of what he does with the people he has. He doesn't win enough games, though, I don't think, which part of that is because he doesn't have everything around him. But I think Tom Brady is like the best overall quarterback because of just his whole body of work and the fact that he's so clutch. I mean, even in that Super Bowl, wasn't the first quarterback to ever throw for over 500 yards and lose a playoff game in the NFL. Like that's crazy. So I don't know. I think I would I would say it has to be Aaron Rodgers number 1. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think you could pass up Aaron Rodgers at this point. I mean, you could say,
And
he did get hurt last year, but like his offense isn't like that great. Like the weapons around him aren't that great. I'm not saying they're bad, but I think that they're, you know, top 15 team or top half offensively. I think if you added another key piece, like even I think a better running back, that offense would be a lot more helpful for him. He doesn't have to do a whole lot either.
well, and he seems like a guy. If you're talking about value, he seems like a guy who's gonna play for another 7 years at least. I mean, what is he right now? 30.
I think he's like 33 or 34.
I thought he was like 32, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But he seems like a guy who can play until he's 40. He just seems like that type of guy who has that kind of mentality. So I think that's also value. Number 2, um, it's like I was talking about earlier with Jimmy Garoppolo. There's like 5 good quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like there's this little mediocre. Like you've got your Blake Bortles and Kirk Cousins, and all these guys who are kind of average. I would have to say Carson Wentz might be number 2 because I think what he showed this past year was that he's actually a good quarterback. Coming out of NDSU, I didn't think he would be as good as he was. Just watching him in college, it's kind of like that, yeah, he's playing against Missouri Valley teams, South Dakota State and stuff like that. You don't think that'll transfer over. But man, he balled out this year, and I think he's he's going to be a great quarterback for years to come. I don't think the ACL injury will hurt him that much, but you also never know with that. Who do you have at number 2?
I think, if you just kind of look at like around the league, I mean, it's hard to like pass up Russell Wilson at number 2.
See, I think for some reason I just think Russell Wilson's overrated. I don't know what it is, but it might just be because I don't watch the Seahawks a whole lot, and I've always kind of thought of him as like, a manager. But I guess he has. I will say he's in the top 5. I would say he's more towards the back end, just because I don't know. I guess these past couple of years since they haven't had Marshawn Lynch, he's had to actually throw the ball more. But it still seems like he doesn't put up enough numbers for his team to win in like you never think of Russell Wilson as the guy who wins you a game, I guess.
Yeah.
For me at least.
Well, I mean, I forgot there was a stat line that Russell Wilson threw for like 32 touchdowns, and the Seahawks had like 35 or 36 touchdowns. So, I mean, he did have to do a majority of the work this year, not having a big running
And I
game.
think that's also why he's kind of come up, or has improved because he's had to throw the ball so much more. And I think that's why he's got all these stats. Obviously, you're going to get a lot more yards and a lot more touchdowns when you have no running game and all that, but I don't know. I just don't think it might also be just because I don't really like Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I just think he's annoying and an idiot.
I think okay. So I am watching. I'm just looking over. It goes for Colin Cowherd. It goes Rodgers, Wilson, Garoppolo, Luck, Wentz, Brady, Big Ben, and Drew Brees. I mean,
see, I can't put Andrew Luck in there. I don't know. Like I
think if you take the injuries aside.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he would be number 3. I think.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played in like a year and a half.
He didn't play at all last year, did he?
Yeah, no.
No. Yeah.
And it's just kind of a question, and I don't know. But like I said, there's 5 really good quarterbacks, and they're all pretty old. There's not a whole lot. Like Carson Wentz, I think, is the only. I guess you could put Russell Wilson in there. Are like the only guys that are young that have a bunch of promise.
Yeah, I think guys. You said like Blake Bortles. Another guy that comes to mind in the same category is Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. He was so bad last
I think
year.
part of him is the offense he's in. They don't allow he has ankle issues, I think, so that's why maybe they didn't want to run him a lot more. But look at him at Oregon. Like he tore it up because he had the threat of running the ball. So I think if you put him kind of in that kind of option offense, kind of like what they have with Russell Wilson in Seattle, where they kind of let him actually have design runs, or Alex Smith last year. Like, I think he would have a lot of success. Another guy I think that actually is going to be really good is Mitch Trubisky. I think he has all the talent. If they surround him with talent, he has all the talent to actually be a really good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think my roommate's a huge Bears fan. When I first saw that trade, I laughed because I thought it was ridiculous. But
that also was because I didn't watch Trubisky at all.
Yeah,
I didn't watch. I mean, he played at North Carolina. Who's gonna watch North Carolina football? No one. So, but watching a couple games with him this year, I mean, he just looks really good. I think he's got a bunch of talent. He obviously made some rookie. He threw a lot of interceptions, but that's any rookie. I mean, look at Carson Wentz. After they started off really well last year, he started to decline a little bit. Everybody has that type of rookie season where they just kind of, especially when you're on a bad team, like that's just gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking. We just talked about the present quarterbacks. Let's look at the future quarterbacks in the draft. Who, I guess, is gonna be your biggest quarterback people are going to sleep on, and then who's the biggest, bust out of the quarterbacks?
Baker Mayfield is the biggest sleeper, which I don't know if he's a sleeper that much anymore, because people are starting to actually kind of start to believe in him a little bit. But I think when you look at him, just his skill set, I just think he has what it takes, especially since I think he's going to be the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken. He's going to go to a better team. So I think he has a better chance out of those guys to actually perform well right away. And I think he just kind of has, a lot of people compare him to Johnny Manziel. He's not Johnny Manziel at all. Like he's taller. He just has, I think, a better skill set for the NFL. And he's just the type of guy I think that can actually go out and he has the arm strength, he has the mobility and all that. And I just think he actually has all the tools. And I think a lot of people just overlook him because of his sort of off the field stuff, which makes zero sense because it's not even that bad. Like,
No.
oh, he grabbed it, he grabbed his crotch. Oh, big deal. Like people, I don't understand
That
that.
was in a game where, like, it was already heated in the beginning, so you kind of had it coming at that point, though. Like, it was kind of dumb, but like, if it's a heated battle, people are gonna get competitive, and people get competitive. Anything can happen. So
When he's going to the NFL, a man's league, where like you can do whatever you want. Yeah, you'll get fined and stuff, but it's like I don't understand. Like there's a lot worse stuff that people do, and obviously he had the drunk incident, but he's a college kid. Like let a college kid be a college kid for a little bit, especially in the summer. I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but I think he's the biggest sleeper out of the quarterbacks.
yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think with the top two quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, you already kind of know what you're gonna get with the two.
You mean Allen or
Or
Rosen?
uh did I say Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant Josh Rosen from UCLA, not
hmm
Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen could surprise some people.
I think he's gonna be the
Do
bust.
you think he's gonna be the bust?
He
He played in a league where like no one knew who he was. Like,
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I watched him. He played against Iowa this year. Wyoming did, and he was terrible. I've never seen a quarterback have such a bad game. Like, he was just throwing balls at people's feet. He was absolutely terrible. Um, which that's one game I've watched him play, but the rest of the games are against Mountain West teams, and he couldn't even like lead it. Like, here's my theory for like mid-major quarterbacks or FCS quarterbacks. If you can't lead a FCS team or a mid-major team to at least like 10 wins, I don't think you can do it in the NFL because you're playing against superior or not superior, subpar competition. Like it just doesn't. That's why I think Carson Wentz. I mean, he's just a champion. Like he was playing against not as good competition as let's say
Baker Mayfield.
yeah, or big schools, but he beat all of them and he dominated all of them. So I think that's why what you really have to look at. Yeah, you can look at his talent and all of that, but you also have to when you're looking at an NFL quarterback, can he lead a group of guys? And I don't think Josh Allen can because clearly at Wyoming he didn't do enough. I don't know. Now I don't know if everybody else at Wyoming was absolutely terrible. That could be
That could be
a
yeah.
thing, but everybody is obsessed with Josh Allen because he's tall and he's got a big arm. I don't think that really does anything for you. Like, yeah, you can throw. A lot of people have that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think yeah. I meant to say Josh Rosen from UCLA. I think Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen, you kind of know what you're gonna get at.
I think I don't. Josh Rosen, I don't think he's going to be very good.
What about? I think Lamar Jackson's a bust.
See, he's a guy. Actually, he might be the sleeper because. But it's also tough because he makes a lot of just stupid decisions.
Is
like,
it me or does he kind of look like RG3 out there?
A little bit. I mean, he kind of has that same kind of throwing motion, I would say, but I think he he's the type of guy who's just kind of like a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. Like I watched their bowl game against I want to say Mississippi State or someone, but he threw like 5 interceptions and it was absolutely terrible. And he it was absolutely awful. So I don't know what to think of him. I think he has potential, and he's going to be another guy where he might go to a team that already has a veteran quarterback, and then that quarterback struggles, and he gets the chance. So I don't know. I think he's kind of a wild card. Like I said, it could go either way with him. But there's a lot of guys like that when they come out of college and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me. I think that's. Yeah, there's this. I don't know. The quarterback class is. I think it'd be really interesting.
What do you think of Deshaun Watson?
I mean, he had a great year last year. I mean, the team had.
You think he'll come back off of the injury and still be good?
I don't. It's so tough. It's like saying that. Do you think the same? You think Wentz is? Do you think Wentz is going to come back off the injury?
See, he's in a really tough situation because they won a championship.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he might not be ready, though, for the start of the season, which
No.
really just puts them
Even a worse
in a
spot.
whole thing. It sounds like they're just going to keep Nick Foles, though, this whole season and then maybe see how Carson Wentz does coming off the injury, or I don't know. I think he's going to be fine. It's kind of like it's kind of come to where it's kind of almost, you know how it used to be where it was rare if you came up an ACL injury and you were the same person.
Yeah,
I think now it's kind of more rare if it just ruins your career
that's true.
unless you tear it again or something. But I think a lot of people have unreal expectations because of what Adrian Peterson did after an ACL tear, but I don't know, a lot of people can come back after it and do just fine. It's kind of all your mindset, and RG3 obviously comes to mind with that. I don't think he ever was the same just because he was scared of hurting his knee again.
Jamal Charles is another person that comes to mind too. I think he's going to be
But
good.
Jamal
though.
Charles, though,
Did he tear twice?
he was the one, yeah, and he was pretty good after the first one. He came back, he had a really good year, and then the next year he tore it again.
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson's going to be. I think he'll be fine. I mean, nothing's really changed.
It's gonna be a lot of hype.
It's gonna be a lot of hype. I don't think really nothing's really changed in Houston for me to say like I think he's gonna be bad because their offense is still the same. So
I think he's a guy who benefited from having DeAndre Hopkins and having C.J. Fedorowicz and having
Fuller.
Lamar Miller. Yeah, he came into basically the perfect situation
Yeah.
where they had everybody but a quarterback. They have decent offensive line. Their defense is really good, or not really good, but good. And but yeah, I think I was surprised at how good he actually was.
yeah, yep. And then we'll go on to our last NFL subject here. I saw something on ESPN about the Vikings. It was the NFC North in general, where it's like listed all what's the main thing like the what the NFC North teams have to do. I think the Bears it was like you got cut Mike Glennon, you gotta go sign Jarvis Landry, cut Kevin White, extend Cameron Meredith, things of that nature. For the Vikings, I saw it was sign Case Keenum, but sign him carefully, or just get Kirk Cousins and then just call it good. Then it was re-sign Anthony Barr, and then pick up Darren Sproles. What's your overall thoughts in this? I didn't get the Darren Sproles thing, but
I think maybe that was because they're not going to re-sign Jerick McKinnon, so they need to get someone back there. But you've got Latavius Murray. I think they still need to get one more offensive lineman because, like we saw last year, a little bit, you never know when somebody's going to get hurt, or you need a offensive line that is going to be good for the whole season. I don't know if they had that the whole time, but I think that's really the only thing. I mean, yeah, re-sign Anthony Barr, but Vikings usually do a good job of re-signing all of their guys, and everybody. This team is a very collective unit, and they want to stay there, especially if they're a starter. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's really just get your quarterback and stick with them. I think. I don't know if you've got Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know. This is the most interesting offseason for the Vikings in a long time because you don't, especially free agent wise and just everything, because you don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. You don't know if they're going to sign both Keenum and Bridgewater or Keenum and Cousins, and I don't know. I think I think they just need to figure it out, basically.
Yeah.
I don't really have any suggestions. It's just kind of make a decision and stick with it and see what happens.
I just don't think they should get too cute with this situation. They're
Yeah.
in a they're in a big situation. Don't be too cute with it. Like don't.
I'd really like to see them throw out the money and get Kirk Cousins because he's 28 years old. Like he's not that or yeah, I'm pretty sure he's 28 years old. He's not old by any means. He's heading right into his prime, and your defense only has maybe 4 or 5 years left where they're all going to be together and in their prime.
Yeah.
So you need to make a move now. Otherwise, if you go back, what I don't want them to do is only go with like Bridgewater. That would be the dumbest decision ever because you don't know. I'm not a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. I just don't really. I've never really understood the hype around him. Granted, he only played for 2 seasons, but I just never really understood it because his second season, he had a lot of talent around him. You know, he had Adrian Peterson, he had Diggs, he had Kyle Rudolph, he had Mike Wallace, he had all these guys, and he still kept throwing. He can't throw the ball farther than 30 yards. I'm sorry, he just can't do it. He just doesn't have the arm strength to do it. Or at least accurately. And that's why I never really understood why there was so much hype around him. And really, I think it's only because he's just a good guy. And yeah, you can root for good guys, but at some point you need to get talent. And I don't think he has enough of it.
Yeah, I can agree with you on those points. I mean, the Vikings do need a guy that can wing the ball out a little bit farther than 30, 40, even 40 yards. I mean, Kirk Cousins got an arm. We've seen it. We've seen it plenty of times. So
And I think the thing, though, also, when you look at it, is the Vikings, they don't really ever throw it down the field all that much.
no, they don't have the guys like a Mike Wallace or like a Tyreek Hill where they can go down.
Well, and they
Or
also
Brandon
don't
Cooks.
have the guys. Yeah, like they don't have a guy who's super, super fast, but they also don't have a super tall receiver. I'd like to see them actually hit on a receiver for once. I mean, yeah, they've got like a
Tall.
tall wide receiver because they got Laquan Treadwell.
He's
Meh.
okay.
He's not that great. Michael Floyd, not that great. I mean, it seems like every tall receiver that they draft just never pans out into anything. It would have been so awesome if they would have gotten Alshon Jeffrey.
Well,
but-
yeah.
I mean, we saw what he did to them and the Patriots, but I don't know. I think, like I said, they just need to get maybe one more offensive lineman, and other than that, I think they're kind of set. Maybe get another linebacker. I think they do need to replace Anderson Dejo. I'm just kind of done with him. I think he's.
The weak link of that great defense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes plays, but he makes so many dumb decisions too. Like, just targets people, or gets ejected for when he doesn't need to. Like, dude, just tackle the guy. Don't launch yourself like a missile at him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, let's move on. We're gonna move on to the NBA topic here. You know, we were talking a lot. I believe it was Was it Tuesday or It was
Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
Or was it
It was
Thursday?
Thursday. It was
Yeah,
Thursday. Last Thursday was the trade deadline. So it feels like it's been a longer time. But honestly, my overall thoughts of it. I would say I thought it was kind of boring because not a lot of teams got involved. It was basically the Cavs just going and here you go, here you go, here you go. Give me these guys. I thought like DeAndre Jordan was gonna get moved. I thought the Jazz were gonna get a little bit more bigger talent. I thought things like that would happen. I thought Kemba Walker was gonna get moved. None of that happened. It was basically here's the Cavs reality TV show coming your way. But what were your overall thoughts of it?
I thought it was pretty wild. I mean, the fact that the Cavs, they made an executive decision, and I think it's interesting because they didn't do what the Cavs usually do, and that's trade for DeAndre Jordan, and that's it. Keep the guys that you have that are obviously it's not working at all. You've lost like 16 of 23 games, so obviously it's not working. So what are you going to do to fix it? Get rid of all those guys. And I think they did a good job. it seems like obviously this is 2 games in, so can't say much. Did they beat the Thunder last
They
night?
did.
I think Jordan Clarkson was a really good move. It was a good move for both sides because the Lakers now can sign 2 max deals because Jordan Clarkson was supposed to make like 12 million next year and 13 million the year after that. And then they got Larry Nance who can come off the bench. I think he's a pretty good guy. He's obviously just can't shoot much, but he can rebound and score, which is what they need. Uh, they got George Hill, who can. He's a very serviceable point guard for you. Way better than having Derrick Rose or I think even Isaiah Thomas on that team because Isaiah Thomas wants to shoot the ball a lot and wants to have the ball in his hands. And I think getting Rodney Hood, he's a young guy who I think obviously he was probably the best acquisition out of all those. So I think obviously the question's going to be will they be able to gel enough before the playoffs or before second round and conference finals? And I think they might be able to. I mean, you give them, what now, a month and a half before the playoffs? I think they might be able to. But you might as well go all in because you don't know. What do you think LeBron's coming back?
I think this is the way to put it. This I felt like what Brian was it Windhorst or whatever. I think he was right on saying this trade deadline is gonna reflect what happens to LeBron this offseason. I think he's still correct on that. They got pieces that were
They got young guys.
They got young guys and they're helpful young guys.
And they're gonna end up having like a top 3 pick.
Yeah, they're gonna have a top 3 pick. You got rid of Isaiah Thomas, which is unfortunate, but I think if you're the Cavs, you're gonna take a guy that I think is still a good player, but didn't fit the role. I think if you shipping him off and getting 2 young guys that have talent and that can score the ball, I think that's a good move because the guy that's the better player that is struggling is gonna think something else. Is gonna think, well, this team isn't revolved around me. And I think that's what Isaiah Thomas was thinking with him being in Cleveland, like thinking, oh, I'm the point guard. Let's try and, revolve the team around me. I want pick and rolls everywhere I go. Obviously, you could see what happened with that. It didn't work out well. Now he's with the Lakers. I think it's a good trade for both teams. And I think overall, I think it's a good, eye-opener for the Cavs to say, LeBron, this is we want you back, and here's what we can offer you. And it's a good young talent, and all they need to do is get Kevin Love back healthy. I think this team can make a run to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying they're going to win the NBA Finals.
I think if they make it to the NBA Finals, he comes back because you get another young piece and you have at least some talent. I think the thing with him, though, like I said to you on last Thursday, was that if you don't have 3 superstars on one team, I don't think you can beat the Warriors. So all of this is kind of if the Cavs make the NBA Finals, they're getting swept. I just think they are. They don't have enough experience or talent to stay with the Warriors. It's just not going to happen.
Do you think the Warriors are going to, let any team, I guess, have any 6 or 7 game series in the playoffs?
I think the Rockets can give them a chance. And I guess we can get into the Timberwolves in a little bit, and I really just want to rant about them. But I think the Timberwolves have
a chance.
I'd like to see when the Warriors go to the Target Center, which is probably coming up here.
It's a couple weeks from now.
I'd like to see that game, and then I'll give you my take on if the Timberwolves could do anything. The Spurs, I don't know about them.
I think the Spurs would have a better chance if they would have made a move in the trade deadline. They didn't make a move, so I can't say that.
I think they didn't make a move because Marcus Aldridge is having one of his best seasons, but part of that is probably because Kawhi. They're all just.
I don't know what's going on
seems
in San Antonio,
and they're still having a good year.
It doesn't make sense.
They're still having a better year than the Timberwolves. It doesn't make any sense. But I think the Rockets have a chance just because they can keep up with the Warriors, but obviously we've seen in the past that hasn't really helped them. But it seems like maybe it might be a new Rockets team with Chris Paul. I don't know. I think it'd be funny if Chris Paul didn't make the conference finals again.
Yeah,
Just because he he's never
leaves.
made it. Yeah, and then but no, I don't know. It's so tough with the Warriors. It's just kind of I think they're going to get bored here the final month and a half of the season because what do they have left to prove?
They might as well. They could honestly just go on a span where they could just like rest like two of their three starters.
Well, the other night Steve Kerr didn't even coach the game. He let the players coach it
What did you
against
think
the
of that?
Suns. I thought it was.
It's interesting.
Well, I thought Devin Booker put it perfectly. I mean, he said, "I'm not mad at all. Like you might as well. It's kind of a team camaraderie thing, and they've got 4 All-Stars." And when you have 4 All-Stars and you're playing a team like the Suns, who absolutely terrible. How do you lose back-to-back game or not back-to-back, but 2 games in a week by one by was it 50? No, it was both were almost 50 to the Spurs and the Warriors. But I think I think the Warriors I guess the only thing no one's downing them though. Last year it was kind of the Cavs, they've got all this and they beat you last year and will Kevin Durant win his first championship? But I think now I guess the only thing you really have to play for obviously is winning a championship and kind of, creating a dynasty.
Yeah, I think there's no one that's gonna beat the Warriors personally. It's just too much. There's just too much talent on that team to give me any team. The Cavs would have if Kyrie stayed, and we could go on about that. But Boston maybe once Gordon Hayward gets healthy.
That's what I was thinking. I think Boston, and especially there's this kind of thing going around that Oracle Kyrie, he just plays his ass off in Oracle, so maybe that would give him a chance. I'd love to see that series, I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great series. Let's move. We got a couple other things I want to talk about, but let's talk about Utah Jazz. They won 10 in a row. We see guys like Ricky Rubio, the ex-Timberwolf there. Donovan Mitchell's been playing.
Tell you what, Donovan Mitchell is gonna be amazing in the NBA.
He's probably. Do you think he's the better hype than Kuzma of all the rookies that have played this year?
I mean, he should win Rookie of the Year. I think he's maybe Ben Simmons. He's probably maybe the front runner right now, would you say?
I think
stats wise.
It's just so hard to pass up on a talent like him. He's playing so well.
Well, and he does everything.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, though, I've never seen a guy who shoots so efficiently but also is so athletic. That game against the Suns where he went, I think, 14 of 19, 7 of 9 from 3, 41 points. 41 points on 14 shots, that's crazy. And I think, he's just leading I don't think anybody thought the Utah Jazz with this roster, would have what it takes to win 11 in a row now, 10 in a row.
I think that it was 10 in a row a lot when I wrote it down, but I don't know if it's 10 in a row. So I don't know if they played last night.
I don't think they did.
Okay.
Because I would have seen
something
an 11 in a row.
ESPN update or something like that.
But yeah, they're tough. They're the 6th seed right now, and if it were to match up, I think right now, I think the Spurs are a game up on the Wolves.
I think Utah's actually saw the playoffs, if I remember correctly.
No, they were 6th seed yesterday.
Unless something changed.
Or unless maybe I'm...
Utah's at the 10th seed right now, but the 6th through the 10 seeds decided by 2 games.
Oh, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. So...
but I thought I saw... Well, maybe I was just reading something.
Denver's the 6th seed, if that's what you're talking about. But yeah, let's move. Okay, so I'm going to let you off the leash here a little bit. The Timberwolves, a team, they lost yesterday. I wasn't surprised about the loss.
I was kind of expecting them to win because they were at home.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably one of the best home teams in the West.
And they're the worst road team.
And what I mean, we we see your rants on Twitter. We talk about all the time, but they lose to the bad teams like all the time. What needs to change?
I okay. There's a couple things. One, Tibbs needs to play the bench a little bit more. I think he needs to give Tyus and Bielitsa some more minutes. Gorgie Jang is terrible.
That contract is such a waste now.
Yeah, and it sucks. Maybe Justin Patton can come in, give him some minutes, see how he does. That would be nice if he could, because I think the Marcus Georges Hunt thing is kind of just.
He played well for a little bit, but now he's kind of like on the back
I was
burner.
I was talking to my friend and we were saying it's just like everybody but Crawford, Bielitsa, and Tyus Jones is just they stink. They're terrible. Like Cole Aldrich, terrible. Shabazz Muhammad comes in, chucks the ball off the backboard 10 times and then exits the game. Gorgie Jang doesn't play defense, can only hit mid-range jump shots. That's about it.
He's not very mobile as I thought he once was.
Yeah, Georges Hunt, I don't know what to think about him. I mean, he gives some good minutes, but that's about it. I don't know. They need to do something about maybe giving their bench a little more because they still have one of the worst benches in the NBA, and that was their trouble last year. They couldn't do anything off the bench. So I think they need to do something there. I'm surprised they didn't trade Shabazz for something or someone to, maybe they will sign someone who can give them something. And then I think Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins have to be more aggressive because Andrew Wiggins goes through these spurts where, he puts up 35 points, but then the next game he'll put up
10.
10. And it's like, dude, if you were aggressive every night in and night out, you could be almost as good as Jimmy Butler if you just had that drive. And it just really pisses me off that Jimmy Butler is the only guy on the team who actually cares or at least cares enough to try the whole game, where Andrew Wiggins is taking possessions off. Karl Anthony Towns is crying about getting fouled and then takes possessions off. And I think, people are complaining that Cat only gets 8 shots. Well, part of that is because he's not aggressive enough. He doesn't demand the ball in the post. He sits out at the 3-point line, and I think he needs to be more demanding. And I think Jimmy Butler also needs to calm down a little bit and stop trying to take over every single time. He does a pretty good job at it, but sometimes, that's why Andrew Wiggins doesn't get enough shots or Towns doesn't get enough shots.
I think also needs to change is just their offensive strategy. We talk about it a lot where it's like we made a joke about it at my intramural game, which we actually won. But the Timberwolves go down the court and it's like let's wait.
They wait until 10 seconds left on the shot clock to move.
It's like the end of the quarter. They just decide, okay, 10 seconds, you set a high pick, then you roll off it, go to the 3-point line, I'll try and drive into the lane. It's like that doesn't work all the time.
Well, and here's the thing, it especially doesn't work against teams that can score the basketball on the other end. When they don't have a good enough defense to play that type of basketball. If you have a defense that can limit teams to under 100 points or stuff like that, or around that, then you can play that type of basketball where you can score, I mean, look at them. They still average over 100 points a game, and they play that way. If you would get out and run a little bit, you could actually do something.
And they have players that can run. It's not like they've got 2 young guys in Towns and Wiggins who got good legs. Jimmy Butler's still a good player, can still run. Jeff Teague is still a decent runner, and it's like...
Do you like Jeff Teague?
My roommates give me crap about all the time, saying you guys all love Jeff Teague when he hits a shot, you all hate him. I think he's a serviceable point guard, and he does do what we need him to do. It's that sometimes he makes mistakes.
Oh, he just makes the dumbest mistakes, though. Like that Atlanta game, I wanted to strangle him. The thing with him, it's like... I don't know if they would be better with Rubio or not. I was at the beginning of the year like, you guys are crazy. Like, Rubio sucks.
He's having a good year in Utah though. He had 41 points the other day.
He kind of goes in and out. It kind of seems like, which
he's not playing
kind of Jeff Teague.
Yeah.
But I think Jeff Teague, it just kind of comes down to he needs to not turn the ball over. We need him to be a guy who, and he needs to stop when you have that much talent around you, you got to stop driving in and throwing up floaters that have no chance of going in at all. Like that makes no sense of doing that. But
I think he does distribute the ball though. So like, I mean, he had like 11 or 15 assists against. Was it Golden? Was it? I don't know if it was Golden State, but it was. Or the Cavs. It was the Cavs. It was the Cavs. He had like 15 assists
I mean,
against the
I will
Cavs.
say this. It's kind of hard to think of as a Timberwolves fan, when you haven't had success in a while, you just want it to come and you want it to stay. You don't want it, to lose to all these teams, but until we get to the playoffs, I think that's when we'll know actually about this team and whether or not Tibbs' strategy works or not, or that type of stuff. I think Tibbs is overrated. Just when you really yeah, he's a pretty good coach, but when you look at his track record, he hasn't had much success in the NBA as a head coach. He's made it to, I think,
The conference finals.
conference
Once.
finals once, and he lost to the Heat,
Lost to the
or
LeBron
lost
team.
to the Celtics, or the Cavs, in 6 games. But I think,
And then the Derrick Rose year, they lost to the Heat to go to the. Was it? I thought it was that year's the year that they went to the NBA conference final, not the NBA finals, but the Eastern Conference Finals, and lost to the Big Three. That
I don't know if I think they lost in the first round of the Big Three,
or what? I thought
or
the Bulls
maybe it
had the
was,
1 seed that. I could be wrong, but
or I don't know. No, they had the 1 seed, and then Derrick Rose tore his ACL, and they lost to the Sixers.
yeah, it was one of those years because he had a great year, and then the year after that they lost his knee, and then down goes Derrick Rose, and I was gonna mention that. Do you think the Timberwolves should sign Derrick Rose?
No. It's just dumb. Like, I don't know why you would. Like, what is the point? Where are you going to find minutes for him? And especially, wasn't there like a report?
I haven't seen any reports about it yet. The next report I'm assuming I'm going to hear is
There was some, I don't know if it was fake or not because it was on Twitter, but I thought I saw like Yahoo Sports said that he wanted like 100 million or something like that.
was that in the summer though?
Maybe, oh, it might have been, and somebody just quoted it and
Yeah.
like, okay, that makes sense. That's why.
I
Which
remember
I
seeing
didn't
that in the
believe.
summer.
I didn't believe it. I questioned it, but yeah, I think no, that's just dumb. Give Tyus Jones some more minutes. Tyus Jones, the thing with him, he needs to play more for everybody to actually see what he's actually capable of. Because every time he comes in the game, everybody's like, "Ooh, Tyus Jones," and I think a lot of people in Minnesota are kind of biased towards him and don't really give him a fair eye for how good he actually is. He's not that great on defense, but
He gets steals though. Like if you watch him play, he's a
he's
scrappy little guy
he's
out there.
I think he deserves more minutes, and I think he showed that when Jeff Teague was hurt. But it's just so tough as a Timberwolves fan because you want them
You
to.
want more, but it's like I feel like with Timberwolves fans, like me especially, it's like we want more. We want like more wins. And it's like we have the most wins that I think we've surpassed the wins that we had last year. So it's like, well, we want more, and we want more. It's like we're not going to be a 72-10 team. That's just not possible. But we need a win to the bad teams. Is
Yeah,
all I gotta say.
that's the most frustrating thing is that they suck on the road. They're like since January 1st, I think they were 11-0 at home and 2-11 on the road. So they suck on the road clearly. The good thing is that you're not going to see the Magic, Heat, uh, Bulls, Nets, and Hawks in the playoffs. That's a good thing.
This schedule doesn't really. I just look at it and it's like,
Well, I saw half of they've got what 23 games left or something, and I think 14 of them are against sub 500 teams.
yeah, and
So
they got it. They got to win at least.
I'd like to see them get the 3 seed. That would just be
they're
perfect.
half game out, and they're on the skin of their teeth with it. They just can't surpass that 3 seed. Yesterday they had an opportunity, and I mean the Rockets. I mean you can't. The Rockets are a good team. I think they're going to be the 2 seed. They are the best chance of being Golden State. I can't fault them for losing, but I mean, you like the games before that, they have to win. So I think a good way of putting it. But if we go on to the next subjects that we have here, we have playoff predictions. We kind of already talked about that. We think we got Houston or Golden State, Houston, San Antonio, Minnesota, not Toronto Thunder, Nuggets, and we think probably the Portland and Utah are probably gonna round it off. Is a good way of putting it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it just sucks because like you can't get excited about teams like
Utah.
4 through 8. Like
Yeah.
you just can't really get excited about them.
I mean, the best team will be the Thunder. I think at that.
Yeah.
And
And them, I mean, they're sort of a threat, but they're a team. They have 0 bench players.
basically like the
They
Wolves,
basically,
almost.
yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. See, the Wolves, it's just so, it's
Frustrating,
annoying.
Yeah.
I can't, see, I can't predict because, like, in my head, I want to say that their bench is pretty good, but in reality,
It's not.
all they have is Jamal Crawford. And they've got Bielitsa who will make, like, 2 threes and then suck on defense. And
I always say this though: when you have a bench, I don't want a defensive player. I want a scorer. So I don't like you're out there to like basically for me a bench player is
kind of, you have to keep your team in it.
yeah, you don't need to do anything else. Like,
But they also don't have any scorers. Like they've
besides
got
Jamal
2 guys
Crawford.
who can score. Like Belly can score a little bit, and then Tyus can sometimes score. But other than that, it's just
It's frustrating.
Well, and then the fact that their starters play over 40 minutes a game is also frustrating.
Yeah,
Like,
if they cut it down to 38,
yeah.
even like just 2 minutes, like
I mean,
that's
I think
10
Jimmy
minutes.
Butler is able to withstand it, but I think guys like Wiggins and Towns
Or
and
even- I think-
Taj and
yeah, you can get Taj's minutes down. I think if you had to sacrifice any of the 5, it's him and Teague. But
especially when you have Tyus and Bielitsa. And
um,
Jamal Crawford. You can even just put like Jimmy at the point for a little bit.
yeah, if we go on to the next, I got a couple things here, and then we'll wrap up to baseball. Not much to talk in baseball, but MVP, is it safe to say James Harden is the MVP?
I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to like stats and everything, but it seemed. I mean, he had a 60-point triple double.
Yeah, he had like almost a quadruple double too.
I think it was LeBron for a long time until they went on that losing streak. Now I think it's Harden, but I think
James is making.
let's
his
say the
case
Cavs rattle off like
10 wins in a row. Or
10 of like 12 or something like that, then he'll be right there in the talk.
Yeah.
I think what's funny is Russell Westbrook because it seems like when you look around the league at guys who have left him, you look at James Harden, he's going off. You look at Victor Oladipo, he's going off. Enes Kanter's doing pretty well.
Kevin Durant.
It's just kind of interesting how everybody leaves Russell Westbrook and they find themselves.
Yeah, it's like when all the Twins players leave too. They all leave, and then they have that 1 year where they're like the most untouchable player ever.
But I think it is Russell Westbrook. Yeah, he gets assists, but I don't think they're not like they're mostly to wide open people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's a guy who actually is like making hard passes and like I don't know. It's just funny how yeah, he's a really good player, but he needs to change his game, I think, a little bit if he wants to win a ring.
Yeah. And I'm gonna just skip over a couple topics because we covered basically. You think Rookie of the Year is Donovan Mitchell, and I think it's
Well,
Ben Simmons.
I think it. Actually, I do think it's Ben Simmons, but I think Donovan Mitchell deserves a
good chance.
yeah, or at least a debate about it
Yeah.
because of what he's doing on a Utah team. Like Ben Simmons has Joel Embiid and actually has guys around him where Donovan Mitchell, he doesn't have anyone, especially now that
He has Gobert, but he's not even that. He's a defensive
Yeah.
player, and it's like
and Donovan Mitchell isn't like a guy who's passing to like
he's just an all.
he's just good. I love watching him.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch. This rookie class is amazing. You've got him,
Kuzma.
De'Aaron Fox, Kuzma. You got Alonzo Ball, Dennis Smith Jr.,
Josh Jackson's gonna be good in a couple years, I think.
Josh Jackson's looking pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of really good talent out there, and I think it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. This is a little game I kind of want to play. Your all-time starting five. Mine is going to start with Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, and probably Kareem.
Kevin Garnett, huh? I'm gonna have to go Shaq at the center. Point guard. Let's go with Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
The Pistons. Isaiah
okay.
Thomas.
Okay. Good.
Clarification.
Okay, yeah.
there. I don't know. I just really like Isaiah Thomas, and I mean, it was at the end of Magic's career, but he kind of showed him out, and I think had Isaiah Thomas not had ankle injuries, I think he would have had a lot longer career and would have had a brilliant career. I just really like Isaiah Thomas. I think he's awesome.
Most underrated, I think, of all time. Like underrated of all the greats. He's definitely one.
Not a lot. I mean, not a lot of people talk about him. He. I don't. No, I do think. I think Magic is better. I don't know. I just would rather have Isaiah Thomas on my team. Shooting guard. You had Jordan. Yeah, you got to go with Jordan. I was thinking maybe Kobe, but like you got to have Jordan. LeBron obviously at small forward. Power forward.
I think that's the toughest one because you have three
I'm
guys.
gonna have to go Tim Duncan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that or Dirk. Like you. Like,
yeah, because the power forward position didn't really become
meaningful to like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it was kind of like the center, and then I mean you had like Karl Malone. You had I don't know. Basically, if you were above
Sean
6
Kemp was
foot,
another guy.
6'9"
Yeah.
before like the 90s, you were a
center.
It wasn't until recently that they put 7-foot guys or
Porzingis
Yeah.
and things of that nature. Yeah.
which, by the way, we didn't talk about Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, another guy that's got like
Jesus.
he looks like a Dirk to me. Like just watching
He's just
him play.
destroying everyone. he's a more athletic Dirk.
Yeah.
Dude's just dropping the hammer on everyone.
Once he gets his, I think one flop, he can finish a little more and start play
he
defense.
can hit the threes. That was a good trade for both. I mean, it might end up
even going off until it's done. So it's like
it might end up being better for the Bulls in the
scheme
longer run.
Yeah.
But it all kind of also depends on if Jimmy Butler re-signs with the Wolves.
I hope he does.
Which I think he will.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to MLB. We got just a couple things to talk about, not much, but fortunately for the Twins fans, Yu Darvish signed with the Cubs. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm sad.
See, I didn't really follow what teams were going after Yu Darvish, but everyone I kind of talked to, which none of these people are experts, but they're like, I think he's going to the Twins. Like, he's going. So, but it's not surprising at all. But also, what does that do for Jake Arrieta?
He could be a Twin now. He could. I'm not saying he's going to be. There's a couple guys.
I don't know what the Cubs salary cap or not salary cap, but what type of money they have to offer.
They offered Yu Darvish like
$100
million something
And I think they called Arrieta before they offered Yu Darvish and said,
"Are you okay with this?"
Yeah, I don't know.
I wish he would have said no, because then he'd be a Twin. But
well, no, then they'd be like, all right, well, we're signing Yu Darvish, and then see ya, bud.
Yeah, speaking of the Twins, this has been kind of on the down low for quite some time, but it's the Miguel Sano sexual assault or harassment issue that took place with him. And was it a photographer or was it?
Yeah, it was a photographer for the Twins, it was the Twins Daily, like the blog, I think.
Yeah, and he basically what happened was he basically forced her into a corner and asked for a kiss,
Or kissed her.
Kissed her is what we are.
She said.
What she said. What I don't have a lot of people's thoughts about this, but what do you think is going to happen in the long run with this? I think personally he's going to get suspended.
I think he has to. I mean, you have to set some sort of precedent, even if, I mean, the thing is, it's a he said, she said thing, but you have to, you have to set some precedent, kind of like what the NFL did with Ray Rice and Greg Hardy and all that. That
It's
we don't accept any of this at all, even if it might not be true. We don't accept it. So I think he'll get suspended. I don't know how long it's going to be, and that's where it's going to
45.
be tough because if you're Major League Baseball, you don't want to go too harsh, but you don't want to go too lightly. I would suspect at least like 20 games
I thought 45 was good enough, but
around where
that might
that
be a
might
little
be
bit.
excessive. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of depends. I think they're waiting for a little more evidence or just information
But if it
before they.
settles down, which I think it has, like you might
Well,
not.
everybody has forgotten about it by now.
I
Not forgotten, but like,
it's in the back of their mind.
yeah. Unless somebody brings it up or you just kind of think about it, you don't.
Yeah, I like if honestly like I don't want to like sound like it's gonna happen. If they don't find anything, nothing might end up happening to him either. If it was just like fake news, like
I think they need evidence either way, though.
yeah, you
If
can't
there is evidence that he did it, then obviously there's going to be,
some type of punishment.
well, there's going to be like also maybe some legal issues
Yeah,
too. And I think the Twins might even just say, "See ya. I'm sorry, but we can't
have that on our
have
team, which
that."
would be awful. Like
It would suck, but like also, I mean, they proved last year they don't
really need him, but
necessarily need him, but it's nice to have a guy like that on your team. But and then if there's evidence that that didn't happen, which I don't really see that happening because I don't understand why, unless you absolutely hate the guy, that you would call someone out on that. But if there is evidence of the other way, then uh, then it just goes away and they don't suspend him. But it's a very interesting kind of plot twist of the Twin season that a lot of people aren't talking about right now. But I think when they report for spring training here in about
isn't
a
it?
week or
Yeah.
so, that's going to be brought up a lot and be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think so too. I best case scenario for me, he gets suspended for maybe like a month, but I don't know. It's a sticky situation.
Mm-hmm.
Twins predictions. I mean the Ace. I said almost the ACL, but the American AL Central. You know, there's basically two teams fighting in the AL Central. It's the
Yeah,
Twins
the other teams suck.
and the Indians. Who do you think's gonna win the Central? Do you think the
I
Twins
think
are?
the Twins have to make one more move.
They gotta get some pitching.
And I hope they trade for Chris Archer. I think he's the guy if you're going to go out and get someone, either that or maybe,
Alex Cobb comes to mind too.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of trade prospects for them to even go after, but they need to make a move
We
somewhat.
don't need any more prospects. We have
No,
some
no, I meant like trade
Oh,
trade propositions.
yeah. I was
or
gonna say we
trade,
don't need any more
trades that they
prospects.
could. No, they don't need. They have a bunch. That's what I'm saying. They have the ability to trade for people. It's just a matter if they're willing to,
Accept it.
yeah, say we want to win now and go out and get people. But I'd like to see them go after Chris Archer. I think that would be the best move for them.
Yeah, best move for the Twins could be for the Rays too. Like I think the Twins have one of the best prospects, like in baseball right now.
Well, they got Nick Gordon, who will likely be called up this year, second baseman. Or second baseman or shortstop. He'll likely be called up. Yeah, and they've got a bunch of guys. They even, they they were a big part of that Otani deal. They basically were able to give money to the Angels for prospects and got a couple decent prospects. So I'm pretty pumped for. The problem with baseball season is you're pumped and then like a week or two passes and you're like, Jesus, we've got like 6 months until the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't tell. I don't think you can tell baseball what's gonna happen until June.
July. I'd say
July.
the All-Star break is
Yeah.
when. You know how they say the NBA season starts after Christmas? I would say, yeah, the baseball season starts around June or July because you can start off really hot and then you can also start off kind of poor and have a.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Okay, last topic. What teams do you not want to sleep on this year? If
In
you're,
the MLB.
yeah,
I think it's kind of just a two-team race if you really look at it. It's the Astros and the Yankees. I mean, you can't. I don't know if there's many sleepers out there per se. Like,
There's some teams I think in the long run are going to be like really good. I think the White Sox are going to be
yeah,
the team to beat in a few years. This is not going to be now.
I think you still maybe have to look at the Indians.
That pitching staff is still
Yeah,
ridiculous.
pitching staff, and they still have a pretty good offense. So I think they're someone you have to at least look at. In the NL, it's kind of the
Nationals.
Cubs and the Nationals. And the Nationals, I never trust them at all because every single year they just stink and
Yeah.
they're stinking the playoffs. Dodgers, I don't think are going to be as good. Obviously,
Diamondbacks can be sneaky.
yeah, because they
Robbie Ray
have
played well.
they have a decent pitching staff. They have the offense now to kind of back that up. So they could be the team, to challenge the Cubs in the NL. Now that the Cubs have Yu Darvish, I think they're the team to beat.
Yeah, yeah. Yu Darvish just kind of sets the pace. I think in the NL now we can't really, not really much.
At least in the regular season.
In the regular season, yeah, we saw what happened in the playoffs. That was a disaster. But we made a record, the longest show in Pep Talk. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. So, yeah, it was good to have you on here. We'll have you again, probably here in the near future. But it was nice talking to you about some sports, Andrew.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We'll see you guys. This Wednesday. I keep thinking spring break was this week. It's a couple Wednesdays from now, but I'll probably do one on my own. But yeah, this is Pep Talk and good. I guess. I can't say seeing from you guys, but it's good for you to listen to this.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, tuning in. There you go. Tuning in. We will see you guys next Wednesday.